Thank you. Good evening and welcome to this evening's meeting of the Planning Committee. We have only a couple of applications this evening, but we do have public speakers. Welcome to you. Thank you. Yes, I got those. We have Melanie Andrews, the objector. Hi. And Mrs. Park. Hello. I'll give you the rules in a bit. Thank you. So, apologies for absence, please.
I've received apologies from Councillor Barnard and Councillor Karim.
Thank you very much. And we have one online.
Yeah, I can see Councillor Mackenzie Boyle is online. Can you confirm you can hear us?
Yep.
Yes, I can hear.
Thank you. Oh, Councillor Gilby's an observer. He's just in the public gallery, as it were. Thank you. Good. There's no visiting members. So let's proceed to the minutes of the last meeting. We have to approve as a correct record the minutes of the meeting of the committee held on the 18th of January as amended by supplementary report. Do you have any questions of accuracy on that one? Or questions at all? No? So I propose that those are adopted as a correct record.
Oh, second, yeah.
Seconded by... That's good. Thank you. Now to declarations of interest. Members are asked to declare any disclosable pecuniary interest or affected interest in respect of any matter to be considered in this meeting. I won't read the whole text, but you have it in front of you. Is there any member with a disclosable interest, please? No. Thank you for that. It's noted. Do we have any urgent items of business, please?
No, non-notified chair.
Thank you. So we have two applications, and the first of which is the Section 73 application, modifications to an existing approved plan. So it's PS, well, it's public speaking of the 220846 full application, and we have the public speakers. This is just an application to vary condition 2 of the planning permission approved in January 2022. It was from year 2020 for the erection of a detached 3-bedroom dwelling with associated access and parking. For clarification, this application seeks to make changes to the size and ridge height of the dwelling, changes to external appearance, and including changes to windows and doors, and the addition of a chimney. May we have the office for a report, please?
Thank you, Madam Chair. This is Basha Polnick, presenting officer for this item this evening. This application relates to land to the rear of Eggleton Cottage, Chavey Down Road, which members visited last Saturday. So this is Chavey Down Road and this is Mushroom Castle, and this is Eggleton Cottage here. Planning permission was approved in January 2022 for a 3-bedroom house with associated parking and access via Mushroom Castle. This permission is referred to as a parent permission and provides a fallback position which should be afforded significant weight. It also establishes the principle of development on this backland plot of land. The current application is the Section 73 application, which proposes amendments to the size and height of a dwelling, changes to the external appearance, which includes changes to the windows and doors, and the addition of a chimney. So if we just have a look at the plans. This is a street scene that we can see at the top with Rosemary Cottage, which is on the opposite side of the access road. And in this elevation, we can see the differences between the two proposals. So the approved scheme is in pink, outlined in pink, and the current application is on the plan as well. So we can see the addition of the chimney on this side elevation. And here we have the approved layout and the proposed layout as proposed under this application. So we can see the alterations to the footprint of the dwelling and 2 parking spaces to the front, together with a cycle storage and bin stores. And these are the proposed elevations. So the application has been the subject of revisions, resulting in a reduction in the width, depth and height of a dwelling when compared to this application as originally submitted. Compared to the parent permission, the proposal as currently proposed will result in a 1.17 increase in the width of the dwelling, 0.2 of a metre increase in depth, and 0.52 of a metre increase in height. So we can see these on the elevations. These increases are considered to be modest and acceptable in terms of the impact on the character of the area and living conditions of neighbouring occupiers. A summary of the changes in the dimensions of a proposed dwelling can be found on pages 18 to 19 of the agenda. A roof light is proposed on the eastern roof slope to the rear, which we can see on this rear elevation here. And this would be conditioned to be 1.7 metres above internal floor level. That's condition 5 on the agenda, so as not to cause overlooking. It is proposed to finish the dwelling in brick. Dwellings within the immediate area comprise of a mix of brick or fully rendered walls. The access and orientation of a dwelling would remain the same as that approved by the parent permission, along with the setbacks from a road to the east and north. The siting of the dwelling would also remain largely unaltered from that approved by the parent permission, with the exception of the increase in the width and depth of the proposed dwelling. The proposal would not result in any additional traffic movements or require any additional parking in addition to the 2 spaces being provided, along with cycle parking and bin store. And finally, we have some photographs, some floor plans. So here we can see that one of the bedrooms would be at ground floor level, which is the same as the previously approved scheme, with 2 bedrooms and a bathroom upstairs. And finally, we have some photographs. So this is a view of the application site. So the rear garden of the property, which fronts onto Chavey Down Road. Another view. Another view from, this is the rear garden of Poplar Cottage. And finally, this is the private access drive of Mushroom Castle, with the site being on the left-hand side. So the recommendation is to approve subject to conditions in the agenda on pages 28 to 31, and subject to the receipt of SPA contributions secured by the parent permission and the additional informative contained in the supplementary report relating to electric charging points. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you. Now we have our public speakers. May I take our objector first, please? Would you like to come stand up at the lectern? Thank you. That's brilliant.
Just test it for you.
Lovely. I think we have to have the mic in order to be able to hear be heard online. So now I will give you 3 minutes. I've got my timer. 3 minutes to speak, and when you've had 2 minutes 40, I'll say 20 minutes. 20 seconds remaining. Sure. Right. Let's get started. Are you ready? Start now.
Good evening. The neighbours strongly oppose this current application. It is being reported to you as a slight change to the January 22 permission, but that's not the whole story. That permission followed a refusal for a property on the site in June 2020 by this committee, contrary to the recommendation to approve, and with strong reasons given, being too large for the plot and harming to the neighbours. The 2022 permission was a smaller building in response to that refusal, and it remains an extremely small plot with a property squeezed into it. The latest application is a step back towards that 2020 refusal. It proposes to increase the bulk of the property for no clear reason other than providing more internal space. And while the increases proposed may appear limited over the existing permission, the small plot, combined with the size of property being crammed into it, intensifies the effects of any increase in size. On such a small plot, the increases are really important. And crucially, the building will be around 1 metre deeper and 1 metre wider than the 2020 refused scheme, and only 20 centimetres lower than that scheme. A scheme that this committee found too big for the plot. And please note, we think there's a typo on the committee report about the original requested height. The committee report the committee report does not reflect that the proposed property is already in an elevated position in relation to the neighbours in the west and the south. So the increased height and size makes it closer and more prominent to those properties. The increase of the height, width and bulk of the planned property is unnecessary. It does not add anything to the residential amenity, nor the character or the appearance. The changes proposed do not improve on any of the issues of concern that have been raised by the residents, nor do they attempt to improve the design or reduce impact on the neighbours or make any essential improvements. The increased height, width and bulk of the original refused application were considered by the committee as unnecessary, and that resulted in the reduced proposal being passed. The proposed increases would make the property appear very cramped on an already small plot, and this would be clearly visible in the wider area. This is harmful to the character, and it's harmful to the neighbouring amenity. The Planning Committee refused the June 2020 application contrary to a recommendation to approve, and we ask that you listen to the residents, listen to your constituents, and please refuse this overly large property. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Do you want to stay there and answer any questions, Vakrati? Members, do you have any questions for Melanie, Mrs. Andrews? Oops. Oh, no. This is awful. I haven't worked
still
out.
waiting for the other 16.
Oh, dear. No. Do you have any questions for our objector, please?
Oh, there we go. I don't mind doing that. Just, you kept referring to the 2020 refusal one, but the other one of 2022, would you be, it's permitted, so they could, in all essence, have something on that land. Would you see that as still being something that you'd want us to consider? Because it's there in print that they do have a condition.
I think I understand what you mean. So yes, the 2022 application was passed, much to the disappointment of the residents. I just want to reiterate, I'm here speaking on behalf of the local residents. So we were very disappointed about that decision that was made in 2022. And yeah, great, if you want to revoke it, feel free. But what the point we want to make is that it's very close. The latest application is going back close to what was refused in 2020, and that was obviously refused for very good reasons, and that's what we want to bring your attention to.
Anyone else would? Councillor Penfold.
Right. Was the initial application that was refused the same style of house?
Yes, very similar. Yes.
Because I got the impression that it was slightly different from probably the
That's a
reading I've done.
question for officers, actually. Yeah.
Pardon?
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks.
Any other questions? Just of accuracy of what the resident said? No? Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you.
And now our applicant to respond. Mrs. Park, please. Thanks, Stephen. Find my timer again.
Well, thank you everybody for coming tonight. I
did-
really appreciate
Sorry,
that.
could you hold on till I've scheduled
Oh, I'm
the
so
3
sorry.
minutes?
I'm sorry.
Sorry. I'm afraid I got a new phone. I have to work it out again. Sorry. Are you ready to begin? Don't forget, I'll give you a 20-second warning, but you can carry on speaking. Okay, till the end of the 3 minutes.
Thank you.
Thanks. Ready, start.
Well, thank you again everyone for coming. My phone's gone now, sorry. The application simply seeks to vary the sign of the scheme already approved, and the planning permission, hence the principal erection of the dwelling, is deemed acceptable. Following the receipt of the initial consultation response, we have amended the posted sign accordingly to address the concerns raised by the neighbours, to really appease them, really, because we are aware that they didn't want any property being built there, and there was much controversy. I have been round personally to see the neighbours, and I'm probably the best neighbour they could ever have. I've served the community as a key worker, and I feel that I have done everything within the recommendations to move forward with this self-build. We have reduced the overall width, reduced the overall depth and repositioning, and I'd emphasise that we are still away from the boundaries. It does not appear cramped. Firstly, the dwelling is positioned adjacent to the extensive rear garden of the dwelling of Castle Keep, which is actually used for car parking. There is no properties either side of the proposed build, and that there is no imprivacy on anyone's privacy at the back because there is no rear windows. I merely can look up to the sky. In the front of the building, it is still set back, and the house that sits, front of the building of the planning would not be invading their privacy. Hence, there is no material impact on the amenity of this property. I am a self-builder and I bought the plot with my life savings. I have compromised your wish for my dream house by adhering to the officer's advice and reducing the scheme and the development. I have consulted all the way through this application And it has been quite taxing mentally when I was already exhausted from supporting this through the pandemic. I believe I meet the criteria that the government sets as well for key workers
20
in the
seconds.
community. And supporting people to self-build. I just have to trust the process now and believe that I will be treated fairly. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Would you like to stay there in case we need to ask any questions? Members, do you have any questions for Mrs. Park? No questions? Councillor Hayes.
It's because I've inherited this new area from the other councillors and not knowing it as well as I would like to, but I'm learning it. Is it, the self-build, is it still being retained with the main building, or is it going to be a separate building?
That's probably a
Yeah,
question for the officer as well, I think.
okay.
Councillor O'Regan.
Hi, well, thank you for speaking. I was just I'm curious. So, why have you applied for an S37 with a variation to the approved plan? What's the motivation there?
I don't believe the ridge height was suitable at all, and that was the reason, and I didn't like the layout of the property before. I don't believe the new proposal will impinge on anyone's privacy, including my own. I'm a very private person, and I'm a very discreet person.
Ask a supplementary.
Yes, do.
I was just speculating. It was because it's a. So what was that?
We're getting some irrelevant questions here. So,
Irrelevant questions.
yeah, ask your questions.
Oh, right, okay. I was speculating that it was because it's a kit house, and the kit house comes in certain dimensions.
Oh,
Is that why?
No, sorry. Councillor Reagan.
Sorry to interject, but the motivation and reasons for the application are totally irrelevant to your considerations this evening. You need to consider what you have before you on its merits.
Okay.
Ignore that question.
I'm sorry.
There is a reason I went, because I wanted it to be energy efficient.
Okay. Thank you very much for your contribution. We've now got to deliberate on the planning reasons for things. Thank you. Okay. Now, questions for the officer, I think. Councillor Smith.
Thank you, Chair. First of all, through you, I would just like to ask, the objector made a comment with regard to the accuracy of some of the claims with regards to the height of the building in the committee report. I was just wondering if the officer could speak to that and clarify that for us.
Yes, I'll just move to the plans that we have submitted before us, which will be, if the committee is minded to approve this application today, are the approved plans. So here we can see the height given on this plan. So the pink is the previously approved plan, which is a maximum ridge height of 6 metres, and then we can see that the proposed height is 6.5. So these are that's a proposed ridge height and the previously approved ridge height. Hopefully that provides a clarification.
Thank you, Chair. Thank you to the officer for clarifying that. My second question is just in relation to the understanding the previous application that was refused. My understanding is that the reasons given for that included potential overlooking, which I don't believe is a concern with the current application. I think I'm satisfied that that has been adequately addressed with the skylight and the condition on that. But the other reason that was given for the refusal of the previous application was to do with the overall height and bulk of the massing and the fact that it would have an adverse impact on the character and appearance of the area. Noting that this section 73 returns the proposal to something closer to that originally refused application, I'm just wondering why that reason is not considered a reason for refusal at this point.
Okay, so the previously refused scheme was actually for a full 2-storey house with higher eaves level, and and as a result, it also had windows facing Eccleston Cottage and Poplar Cottage as well. So it was full 2-storey, whereas this is 1/2 storey, and it's been designed to look more like a cottage, but with first floor accommodation and fewer windows.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else have a question, please? Nice.
Yes.
through-
Yes, please, Chair.
Can I take you after Councillor Ness? Thank you.
Through you, Chair, thanks. Just wanted to get confirmation from officer whether in agreement of the typo mentioned by the resident, is it confirmed or is it related to the same question my colleague has asked earlier? So the resident has mentioned about a typo in the document, the committee report. Do we confirm it or do we not?
Is that going to be a material consideration, do you think?
I think the speaker mentioned a typo in relation to ridge heights, and as I explained in an earlier answer, we can see the ridge heights shown on this plan. So we have the previously approved ridge height and the proposed ridge height by this current application, which is being considered by this committee this evening.
Thank you. Councillor Mackenzie Boyle, please. I can't see you, but I know you're there.
Thank you very much. Forgive me, Basha, the magenta outline was, and the darker outline is now. So to me, that looks bigger than we thought. So is it going to be a bigger piece of build? That's what it looks like to me on these plans.
Yes, as explained in the table and the report, the reason why we have this Section 73 application is because the current proposal is larger than the previously approved one, and the differences are in the table that's given in the report, and as we can see on these elevations. So it's wider in width, just over a metre. It's taller by 1/2 metre. And then the depth, I'll just check, is 0.2 of a metre.
Thank you very much indeed for that clarification, Basha. Thank you very much indeed.
Anyone else? Councillor Hayes.
Yes, carrying on from there, why Section 73 would it have been that a full planning application should have come in at all, Basha, or it's just that there was the approval there for some?
The applicant is entitled to submit a Section 73 application to amend what's been originally approved. Okay. So, this is something that is available to them.
Okay. And I was trying to clarify, is this a building that will be used as a separate dwelling, or is it attached to Ingleton Cottage as a secondary building?
The application is for a new dwelling with associated parking, cycle parking, bin stalls and separate gardens. So it is a completely separate dwelling and a new planning unit in its own right.
Okay.
Thank you. May I ask, since I can't see anybody with a hand up at the moment, the new plan, do the windows sit a little higher? The upstairs, no, the dormer windows and the one in the eaves. It's not much difference, or is there? I couldn't quite work it out.
I would say because of the ridge height, I mean, obviously the positions of the windows are slightly different, because if we have a look at the west elevation, which is the front elevation, we can see the ridge height increase, and therefore the windows are sitting a little bit low. I do have some plans of the original one. So the windows, the dormer windows were slightly lower on that plan. The other thing that I would say is that on the previously approved scheme, we had larger windows at first floor level, i.e. the bathroom window that we can see here on the side elevation. That was a full-size window, and this is a high-level window. The same applies to this elevation, where previously we had approved French doors as opposed to this high-level window here. Well, it's not a high-level window, but it's a different shape window.
Thank you, that's very informative. Any other questions, members? No? Okay, so now it falls to me to propose the recommendation with the conditions that is on page 28 of the agenda. Do I have a seconder?
Yes, you have a seconder.
Thank you. Councillor Reagan to second. Now, can I have contributions to the debate, please? Councillor Smith.
Thank you, Chair. I would like to get on the record, as comments I've made in relation to similar applications previously. I do personally find these kind of infill developments rather unpalatable, and I am very sympathetic to the neighbouring properties who are objecting to it for that reason. My personal feeling is that they don't best serve our communities by sort of filling in every available gap like this. However, we do obviously have to acknowledge that national planning policy permits this and indeed encourages residential infill in this manner. And obviously, in this case, that we have an existing application already approved for the property there. So I have looked specifically at the reasons that the earlier application was objected, and I thank the officers for clarifying on that as well. I think the specific concerns here are overlooking, which I believe the design has addressed. You know, the rear view of the property does not have higher up windows that would provide overlooking, other than that skylight, which is obviously conditioned to ensure that that wouldn't be a concern. Equally, I think the officers explained quite well why this doesn't have the impact in terms of the bulk of the originally refused proposal, with it being not a full two-storey development. So on that reason, I can't find any reason why, as a committee, we would have a valid basis to refuse this. I would have to vote to accept it.
Thank you, Councillor Smith. Councillor Hayes.
I agree with you on many of the points you've just made. It is hard because now that we realise that the two-storey, I inherited this area when we had the boundary changes, and having looked at the past history and where in my own ward, the old ward, back infills I really don't like, and we've taken too many. Not taken too many. We are having these put upon us. My concern was that, like it has been explained, it is now a separate dwelling, will be a separate dwelling. I thought it was something was with Eggleton Cottage, and therefore conditioned that it was to be part of the rest, you know, the bill, but it's not, it's a separate one. I, as same as you, feel we would have a problem stating that the only thing I don't like is changing section 73s, getting around the planning that way, and I can see the general public seeing it that way as well. I do have concerns about back infills and what they become, but again, under appeal or something, we would have a very bad case. I'm sorry to say for the local people that back infills are unfortunately being rubber stamped in lots of ways.
Thank you, Councillor Hayes. Anyone else to speak? Councillor Mackenzie Boyle? No.
Thank you very much, Chair. You've actually you read my mind. If I could vote, I cannot support this for the simple reason it's bigger, it's wider, it's more than it was, but I can't vote.
Yes, comments are always valuable. It increases our understanding. We did have a lot of comments from residents about overlooking overall height and bulk, increase in height and bulk of an out of keeping. But I felt that those comments were more relating to the previous incarnation of the S73, and now that it's been reduced, and I can see that the windows have been improved around the whole way around the property. I'm encouraged by that in response to those objections. I think that there are lots of positives here, but I don't feel that there's anything that we can refuse, to be honest. I think it's complied with all the planning rules, and local and national, so I'm minded to approve. Right, shall we go to the vote? Are those in favour? Please show. Thank you. And those against? Any? So abstentions? Yeah, 2 abstentions. Thank you. Thank you, our public speakers and our public. Thank you very much for attending. You're welcome to stay, of course, but I'm sure you'd like to escape. So we move on to our other item on the agenda, which is Seven Mayfield Place, Winkfield, the garage conversion. May we have the officer's report, please?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Just waiting for the screen to come live.
There's always a delay on these things, I'm sorry to say. You have to be very patient sometimes.
While we're waiting, I'll introduce myself. Good evening all, I'm Kevin Lloyd-Jones. I'm the planning officer for the application at 7 Mayfield Place in Winkfield. It's a retrospective planning application for the conversion of the integral garage to habitable accommodation. This would normally be achievable by permitted development rights, but these rights were removed by condition as part of the original planning permission for this group of dwellings back in 2013. Oh. Do I have to leave the hall? Or stop sharing?
Stop sharing then.
Okay.
Start resharing.
We'll have a little pause while we catch up on the
It's
technology.
probably worth saying that most of the plans and the photograph are actually in the agenda.
It's in the agenda.
Yes. Could speak to
Yeah.
the agenda, as it were.
I reference the agenda as well, the sections,
Lovely.
if that's okay to carry on.
Yeah, that's.
Or would you like me to try again, Clark?
It's up to you.
Or give it a go?
I think it's important to have the. Oh, well, they can't vote online, but if they want to participate in the discussion, I think
Hold
we
on.
should have it.
Something happened.
Here it comes.
Yeah, if you could do it. Here we go. Just a bit of a time lag.
Thank
Okay,
you.
so
For your
this is the
patience.
site, 7 Mayfield Place in Winkfield, and members visited the site last Saturday, and that is the current view. And as I say, this is retrospective application. So I mentioned the original conditions for the 2013 permission. These are detailed in paragraph 4 of the committee report. So condition 3 was no more than 5 bedrooms to prevent overdevelopment of the site and to ensure adequate parking is available. Condition 9 removed all permitted development rights, so any extensions, outbuildings, etc. will require a full planning application. And condition 18 was for the garage to be retained for the parking of vehicles, and that's to ensure that the council's parking standards are met. It's because of these conditions that this application has been lodged. They are serving their purpose in that any departure from the condition requires the express permission of the local planning authority. Now, as the members have seen during the site visit on Saturday, the garage doors have been retained. They've just been insulated from the inside, and there have been no extensions to the dwelling at all. The table in section 5.4, which I'll show on the screen here, shows there are minimal changes to the elevations of the dwelling, and in fact none to the front at all. Therefore, there is no impact on the green belt, no impact on the character and appearance of the street scene, and no impact on the residential amenity of surrounding properties. The application can only be assessed on the parking implications. As highlighted in section 9.17 of the report, the council's parking standards supplementary planning document requires a dwelling of 4 or more bedrooms to have a minimum of 3 off-street parking spaces. A parking plan has been submitted with the application. Showing 3 parking spaces to the front drive, and this includes an extended dropped curb to facilitate these. The council's highway authority have no objection to this application as it complies with the council's parking standards. So with no reason for refusal, I am recommending the application for approval, but with the following conditions, as I've set out in section 11.1 of the report. Those conditions are adherence to the approved plans, that this converted garage should be solely for ancillary use connected to the main dwelling, so it cannot be sublet, it has to be connected to the main dwelling. And the 3 parking spaces that are shown on the plan there, and the dropped curb, must be implemented within 2 months of the date of approval. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you very much, Officer. Members, any questions for the officer, please? None? No, very clear. We had a really good site visit. Do you have any? Does Councillor Mackenzie Boyle, do you have any questions?
Not at all. I have done some background
Lovely.
digging on this, and I find it that the officer has done exactly what was supposed to have been done. So I'm content. Thank you.
Thank you very much. So the recommendation is set out on starting page 41 with all the conditions. So I propose that that be agreed. Do I have a seconder?
I'll second that.
now. Any comments, please? Councillor Hayes.
Yes, I'm pleased that the officers, I will go with this, but have put the condition that it can't be sublet and it isn't like an Airbnb and all the rest of it, because one of the biggest problems we have in these new developments is the parking. If one goes around like the parks in that area, I mean, their biggest problem is insufficient parking. And this does get round to where, with the drop curb and the extra parking, it will facilitate it. And whilst it is also realised this must be used for the amenities of the main building, then I can go with that. And it's got around the problems. Thank you.
Anyone else? Councillors? Oh, Councillor Collins, please.
I will just agree with Councillor Hayes, because condition 2 has been included and the side unit can't be sublet, then I'm happy with his application.
Thank you. Anyone else? Councillor Mackenzie Boyle? Probably not.
No, I'm fine. Thank you very much. I do agree with both the previous councillors' comments. So thank you very much indeed.
Thank you. No further comments? Then let's put it to the vote. All those in favour of approval? Thank you very much. And I think that's the end of our meeting. So thank you very much for attending. Thank you for being here. And thank you for the officers for all their help. We'll see you next month, hopefully. Thanks. Can we wait quietly till the end of the we're offline, sorry. Finding the